Welcome to the Love on the Go podcast, brought to you by Carolina's Matchmaker. I'm Laurie Burzak, and for over 17 years, I've been helping singles find the relationship of their dreams all over the Carolinas. Along the journey, I've met so many amazing professionals and experts from various fields, and I'm excited to introduce them to you. What's my goal? I want to help you look at love and relationships in a new way and to grow in your understanding of how love works. Let's learn together how people have overcome personal obstacles and have found love, first and foremost with themselves. The ultimate goal is realizing that you are worthy and deserving of love. Let's get started. Today, I'm chatting with Sarah Crosland. She knows Charlotte as she's been covering the region for more than a decade, focusing especially on the city's dining scene and its history. Sarah is the author of 100 Things to Do in Charlotte Before You Die, as well as Secret Charlotte, a guide to the weird, wonderful, and obscure. Sarah currently works for Compass Group while continuing to write for local publications, often featuring the best spots to travel to from Charlotte. I'm excited about talking to Sarah today about things to do in Charlotte, things that she's experienced with dating in general, as well as realizing her dreams, not waiting on a relationship to be happy or to buy a home or to travel the world or to enjoy beautiful restaurants. She's really taken life by storm, has wonderful friends, has a glowing outlook, and has been extremely successful in both her business as well as her personal life. And I really admire Sarah so much. I love what she's up to and the way that she looks at this world. Well, Sarah Crosland, you have owned who you are. You're a successful woman. You've written books. You have a big job with Compass Group. You're gorgeous. You travel the world. You're a foodie. You were just featured in Axios Charlotte magazine that you have this new bungalow in like Wiley. And it is, I mean, you're very accomplished and a very interesting dynamic woman.
Well, thanks for making me blush here. Thanks.
Well, and so like, I want to bring some, like, I was thinking what would be good for our audience is like to bring some inspiration to, because I don't know how old you are, 30?
I'm 40. I turned 40 a couple of months ago. So
happy
I've hit
birthday.
That mark. Yeah, thanks.
I love that. And you're never like, to me, you've never struck me as a person like on a timetable, like I need to have this by this age, or like, I need to wait for a partner to buy a beautiful home. Like, and you've done a lot of solo traveling.
Yeah.
Like, I want to like talk about that. Like, what inspires you? Some people like and I encourage people not to do this, but I feel like sometimes people put their love life, I feel like sometimes people put everything on hold because they're waiting for a partner to decorate their home or to buy a home or to go on a trip. And as a result, they miss a lot in life. Even having children. Sometimes people wait to have children and never have a baby because they waited for a partner instead of just doing it and then finding the partner later, which I've talked about on other podcasts before. So like, tell me, like, give me your background in terms of like what inspired you.
Yeah, no, well, first of all, I appreciate that you think of me that way. And I think that really is kind of the way I've always thought about things. For me, if I have any anecdote on it, it's when I was in my early 20s, I was dating a guy. We'd been dating for a couple of years. I thought we were for sure going to get married. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I was about to move to Atlanta. And I was moving into this house that had a dining room. And I was like, well, I'm not going to buy a dining room table because he has a really nice dining room table and we'll just have that. Mm-hmm. And then I moved into the house and like, I don't know, a week later we broke up and I was like, I'm going to go buy a dining room table. And That's granted, at the time I had no money. I went to IKEA and bought a table that I painted myself. But it was like kind of for me, this moment of like, I'm never going to wait again. Like, I'm never going to have an empty dining room again. I'm always going to do the things that I want to do. And so I'm kind of lucky in the sense that I am still unmarried at 40, that I went ahead and did that, because otherwise I would have felt like, what have I been doing for the last 15 to 20 years of my life? And instead, I feel like I've had an extremely full life. I feel like I've been able to have a lot of great experiences, and I've never felt like I'm going to wait until someone else is there for me to do something, because why would you? There's too much to do out there, right?
Exactly. And you've traveled. Tell us about your traveling. And I know you've done a lot of blog posts on that, and check out her website. I'll put everything in the show notes about all your traveling. It looks gorgeous where you have been, and
Thank you.
inspiring.
Yeah, that is for sure a passion of mine. I think
Mm-hmm.
it is, I mean, there's nothing I love more than traveling. I love being in a new place, meeting new people. And I've been lucky because I've had a lot of great friends who love traveling too. And so I'm constantly trying to talk them into the next trip all the time.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, it's also been great because I've been able to kind of roll some of my professional life into that. When I was working in publications, I did a lot of travel writing. I still do a little bit of travel writing on the side. And even in my current job, when I travel for work, a lot of times I'll try to tag on a weekend here or there, or an extra night somewhere just to get a chance to see places. And so yeah, I've never, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I got to hit all 50 states, or I'm trying to visit, mark these places off my bucket list. It's just a constant like, hey, did you hear about this cool island in Mexico that you've never been to before? Let's go try that out. And so I've definitely had the opportunity to go to some pretty amazing places. I feel really lucky.
Where is your favorite place that you have been?
So hard. I would put it between two places. I think I love Belize. I have been there a couple of different times. I love the inland part, and I love like out in the islands, like in the Keys there. I mean, it's hard not to love a place that's in the Caribbean and is beautiful and beachy, but I also just think it's like the culture there, like the people there couldn't be nicer. I really like that almost everybody there speaks English because I'm terrible at languages, so I can appreciate that. And I like it too because I've found I love to go to places where there's not a lot of Americans, and I love to go to places where there's a lot of backpackers, because to me that culture just like fits with the way I like to travel, which is kind of just laid back. Let's just check this out. We're not going to get on a tour bus necessarily. We're just going to have a good time here. And so I think Belize, and then probably the most like exotic place, and I say exotic just because it's a really long flight basically, that I have gone twice now and definitely want to go back, is Vietnam. To me, that country is just such a cool place to visit. Again, amazing culture, amazing food. There's so much to explore there because there's so many different parts of the country that yeah, like I said, I want to go back. I've done both south and north parts of the country and a little bit in the middle, but yeah, there's, like I said, so much to explore.
So much. That sounds lovely.
Yeah.
And then you've written a couple books actually about Charlotte, the restaurant scene in Charlotte, which is, we were talking before the podcast started, how it's even out of date because we have new restaurants and a lot of left during the pandemic, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So are you just every weekend checking out new restaurants? What's your favorite like local? Tell us two of your favorite restaurants in Charlotte that you recommend to people.
Yeah. I mean, I love checking out new restaurants in Charlotte. I feel like I can't keep up at this point. There's so many. So I sort of have my like old go-tos that I still, I mean, I will forever love Soul Gastro Lounge. I hope that restaurant, if that restaurant leaves, I will cry. And I love like Dilworth Tasting Room, like some of the ones that have been around for a while. I mean, I think as far as newer restaurants, Supperland is up there. I think that's such a cool space. I love that little like bar space that they have off to the side there. I mean, Mizzou, and I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, Mizzou, that's the rooftop restaurant in South Park. That's the Asian restaurant. I am obsessed with their food. I think it's so good. Mariposa, that's in the Mint Museum, I think is fun. I could go on and on. I could talk about restaurants for a long time. This podcast would never end.
Well, let's face it, the Charlotte food scene has improved dramatically in the last 3 years.
It's amazing.
Yes.
When I think about when I was working at Charlotte Magazine and interviewed you, at the time I was their dining editor. And when I think of the difference, I mean, it was like, we barely even had Yelp at that point. Like there was, right. So it was a completely different scene. It's amazing.
Agreed. Let's switch gears because let's talk about how different the scene is in terms of how to meet people. And I know you're dating someone, we'll get to that in a minute, but when I first met you, I mean, dating apps were really not that popular. People didn't even admit that they met people online at that point. And now the culture has changed so dramatically. So talk about dating before the apps came along, and then when, before, you landed with your guy now,
Yeah.
what the difference is in terms of the culture of communication, in terms of meeting people. Did you think it was better the way it was before? Like, let's just talk about that.
That's a good question as far as if it was better or not. I mean, I think I hear a lot of people say, oh, dating's so terrible now because the apps make it so terrible because everybody just flips through and picks the person, and it's so appearance based or that kind of thing. Maybe I'm just an eternal optimist. I've never had an issue with feeling like, oh, it's so bad. I think that it is different for sure. I mean, it was, if dating, I think in Charlotte in my like late 20s, early 30s was about like friend of a friend who was connected with me, or meeting someone out, at an event or something like that. Like that was how I ended up meeting people that I was dating at that time. And then for sure, in the last, I don't even know, what has it been, like 7-8 years? It's become so much more everybody. And I've been to so many weddings at this point that are hinge weddings or even weddings there for a while.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, it's like, that just seems to be the way it is now. So yeah, I definitely played around on the dating apps myself. And sometimes I say that I have this thing with the dating apps where it would be like, I would do it for like a couple of weeks and then I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
Like, we get a couple of dates out of it.
Yep.
Either one of those dates would end up in a couple of months of like seeing somebody, or I would just be like, I can't do it anymore. I'm taking a break for a minute, So I think you kind of have to do it in small doses. My friends that like are on it consistently for a long time, I think that it can get a little depressing because you're like, I'm not making that progress. And so that's just never, everybody has to do it their own way, but that's kind of been my way of doing it.
It's so interesting because, I help people with online dating. I don't know if you know that or not. And I have like a 3-month program that I have, and I used to have smaller programs and whatnot, and I'll just set you up. But I found that my clients weren't being as successful with that. And I only want to offer programs that I'm completely successful with. Sure. So we like set them up with great photography. We help them with their profile. We like them to take a stab at it so it sounds like them, and then we'll help sort of tweak it. We style them for the photo shoot. The stylist goes to the photo shoot. So it's like very comprehensive. Then we get them on Match.com. And then we're in there scouting, finding 5 prospects a week that we think would be good matches for them. All the while they're getting all the inbox messaging and people liking them. And then I'm on a Zoom call with them, or one of my staffers is, and we're going through everything with them. And then we're running background checks when we can, and that type of thing. So it's like really comprehensive. And what I've heard people say is that if I wasn't working with them, that they would have quit a long time ago. And really what I've noticed is that most of the time it takes about 2.5 months before somebody is successful with online dating. And I think people abort before they get to the success.
That's very interesting. I could totally see that. And I could totally see how having someone like you sitting there and kind of pushing and doing that other stuff, because it also gets so time consuming.
Exhausting.
I mean, like, you don't even want to, you're like, I will take 7 days to look at it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I wasn't ignoring this message, but like there's a lot of other apps on my phone.
That's right. And someone recently described it as flat time with dating apps. Like, don't even like worry if somebody doesn't get back to you, because it was actually Matchmaker Maria, one of my colleagues, who said that you need to just know that somebody might be dating somebody else or whatever. Maybe they're busy. So don't think it's an insult if they don't get right back to you.
Yeah.
However, that being said, I always suggest that people get on once in the morning, once at night, and try to keep the momentum going, because it can be at the very beginning very exciting. And if you really drop the ball, then people don't, their spirits that were lifted deflate.
Yeah.
And so it's like you need to keep up with it.
Yeah. No, that completely. I think that's a great way to do it, just to have that consistency. It is hard. I do think that's one of the biggest differences between dating with the apps versus dating, I don't know, like I said, 7 or 8 years ago, is that when you would meet somebody through a friend of a friend, you knew their situation. You knew,
That's
like,
right.
are they dating other people? What's the story
Mhm.
here? And that kind of thing. And with dating apps, you have to assume they're dating other people. You
Oh
have to
yeah.
assume they're, you know, you don't know how long or what the situation is or whatever that is. And so
Mhm.
it's hard not to like try to think, oh, they're the same as me, but like
Mhm.
that's not the way it is, you know?
Mm-mm.
So it's
Right.
interesting.
And it's hard. It's like I've had clients say that they went on a great date and then they went home and checked their match inbox. Maybe they want to look at his picture again or whatever. And they saw he was like online now. And he's,
Yep.
you know, just like you are,
Yep.
but they're like, oh, I guess they weren't really that as interested in me. And
Yeah.
so it can be, and yeah, a mind twist for
Yeah.
sure. And
Yeah.
that's why it's like you need to be so emotionally stable, I think, before you get online dating. Well, just like with anything with dating, because you're going to attract in what you are.
Yeah.
And I always encourage people to have that conversation before they get too, you know, invested in the relationship physically and emotionally, to have
Mhm.
that conversation of, you know, are we monogamous now? And are we both getting off all of our online dating sites and really trying to give this a chance?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
feel like people are sometimes afraid to have those conversations because they feel like if they bring it up, they're going to look desperate or needy. But I
Yeah.
don't think that's the case. I think it's saying, let's give this a shot. You know, this was
Yeah.
a platform for us to meet each other. We don't need to be dating like 1,000 people to find our final match.
Right. I love that. I think that's such a
Mhm.
good, I do think just the open communication, I think most of the time
Mhm.
people really appreciate that. You know, you're not going to meet too many. I mean, and my feeling too is if you bring that up and that scares them off, then that's probably not the person anyway, you
That's
know?
exactly 100% right. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, I wanted to ask you, going back to you, you're dating someone now. How did you meet him?
So we're still, this is still early stages for
Yeah.
us, but we've been dating. We actually met on Hinge. So
Okay.
yeah, did the whole dating app thing. And it was
Okay.
funny. This was a situation where I had not been on a dating app and I don't even know, at least 6 months, probably longer than
Mhm.
that. And I was like, all right, I need to do this. I'm just gonna suck it up and make this work and do it. And then I think I was on there for like 6 days when he messaged me. So that was a nice surprise because I can, you know,
Yes.
I can say that that is not always the case, but
Yeah.
it's worked out really well.
And then you went on a couple dates. At what point, I have like this, I've noticed anecdotally that when people go on 5 dates, it
Hmm.
normally turns into a relationship of 6 months or more. That's what I've
Oh,
observed as a matchmaker.
that's
So
interesting.
do you have any idea how many dates that you went on before you were like, yep, this one could work?
That's interesting.
Mhm.
It's funny. I haven't had this conversation with him, so I'm going to have to probably do that before I let him see this podcast.
We won't be releasing it till June, so end of June,
Yeah,
July.
yeah. Um, I will say that with him, it was like a very fast for me on my side of like, okay, yeah, this guy is somebody that I could be really interested in.
Mhm.
You know, I think probably after our second date, I was
Yeah,
like, yeah, this is gonna go somewhere.
yeah.
I think and it's funny you say that because I've been in relationships where I have a relationship in my head that was a pretty
Mhm.
serious relationship that it was date 5 before I was like, okay, yeah. And that was
Mhm.
one that lasted for a while.
Mhm.
But with him it was faster than that. And so I don't even know. By date 5, I was like 100%. So
Interesting.
yeah, but it was just, I mean, you know, there's just some people that you connect with really
Yeah.
quickly. And like he and I mean, we only chatted very briefly on the app. And then he said,
Mhm.
can I call you?
Mhm.
And so we set up a call the next day. And by the time I got off that phone call, I was like, unless he arrives and looks hideous, like,
Right.
then I think this is going to happen.
You could literally hear the chemistry on the phone.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
way he communicated with you was exactly what
Yeah.
you were looking for. I love
Yeah. It
that.
just resonated. Yeah.
I love that. And you've dated a lot, so I do feel like sometimes you do just know, you
Yeah,
know?
I do. Well, and
Mhm.
I think like, you know, there's yeah, at my age and
Mhm.
having, like you said, dated a fair amount, I
Mhm.
think I know what I'm looking for. I know what appeals to me, and
Mhm.
I also just think, like you said, there's a little bit of chemistry there. You know, for me, if somebody can truly make me laugh, it's probably going to work out okay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes, you've got literally the best sense of humor. I love it. And you're out and about. Do you feel like you're doing a lot of things now, out and about now, or is it sort of a little bit slower, or is it full throttle?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I feel like it's full throttle again.
Yeah.
I feel like it is. I mean, for me, this time of year in the summer, I feel like I'm traveling all the time, so
Mhm.
which is fun. That's good.
Yes.
But yeah, I do feel like, you know, the world's open back up, and it is
Yep.
not slowing down at all. Sometimes I miss the days of being like you're forced to stay in your house a little bit. I wouldn't hate to go back to that for a minute sometimes. So it's yeah, it's busy.
I love that. Okay, what do you have in terms of new projects, and what do the next 5 years look like for you, Sarah? Like, where do you have like an idea of sort of where you want to go? And I know you've got a great job, but that you also fill up your personal life a lot. Like, what are some of your goals at this point, bucket list items?
Whew, that's a big question.
Yeah.
I wish you could tell me what my next 5 years look like. You know, I think a couple of things for me. I mean, one, I I do still do a little bit of freelance writing on the side, and I think I probably want to do a little bit more of that. That's just, to me, is something that is my passion and I love doing, and so I think I've kind of, with my day job, which is at Compass Group, I have sort of
Mhm.
rolled that back just a little bit, but I think I probably am ready to get a little bit more back into it.
Okay.
And then I think for me, so, you know, you mentioned that I have moved into this home that's over on Lake Wiley, and
Mhm.
it's in Belmont, the town, not the neighborhood. I feel
So
like I have to
cute.
say, yeah, it's such a cute little town.
Mhm.
And in my head, I think because my job previously was always in like covering local places, and so for
Mhm.
me, I've always been really passionate about being very involved in the place where I am. And
Mhm.
so while I still very much feel involved in Charlotte, I really want to get more involved in Belmont. And so
Mhm.
I don't know exactly what that looks like joining different organizations and
Mhm.
sort of making those connections over there. I don't think I realized when I moved there that it was going to feel quite as separate from Charlotte, but in a lot of ways it does. And I think it's such a cool, dynamic, growing town that I want to get involved there.
I love it there. I went there and I ate at this really cool restaurant that was it like the Jonas
Oh
Brothers,
yeah, yeah.
right? I don't
Nelly's
even
Southern
know.
Kitchen. Yep,
Is it
it's
still there?
still there. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, what's it called again?
It's called Nelly's Southern Kitchen.
Oh
It's
my
named after their
God.
grandmother, Nellie.
So good. And the
Yeah, it's
food
such a
was
sweet spot.
delicious. Like
Yeah.
they've got like fried green tomatoes and
Oh
stuff like
yeah,
that
very Southern. Yeah.
on the menu. And it's like this one little, it kind of reminds me like Gilmore Girls town. It's
Yes.
just like, it's
Yes.
like that little small town that everybody wants to live in,
Yeah.
near a bigger city kind of feeling, but you get
But,
that quiet feeling, kind of like a Davidson almost,
yeah, it very much
but
is.
right, sort of. And
Yeah.
very dynamic town. And then the Daniel Stowe Botanical Gardens is not far from there. So I know that that's what we did. We ate there, and then we went to Daniel Stowe for like a holiday, something or other, some kind of special event that
The
they had
holiday
over
lights
there,
or something. Yeah.
probably something like
Yeah.
that. And that was like really fun. Like I really felt like I was making the most out of my life that night. I remember
Yeah.
feeling that way, like, okay, this is good, like definitely check check
Yeah.
check, feels good.
Yeah.
And they probably have some new places that have opened there since then. It's been a couple of years since I did that, I'm assuming.
Yeah, no, it's growing really fast, and there's lots
Mhm.
of cool breweries and wine shops and coffee shops and bakeries, and it's great. It's just really neat. It is so funny because I compare it all the time to Stars Hollow, the place in Gilmore. Because
Yes.
I'm like, this is totally what this is. Like this, it doesn't feel real sometimes. I'm
Right.
like, I saw something a couple of weeks ago where the police department posted on Instagram that there was a new goose family that was crossing a certain intersection, and they were like, please be careful of the mother and her goslings. And I was like, what town is this? Like, this is very different from my life in Plaza Midwood.
That is so funny. And that was probably a very dynamic life living in Plaza Midwood.
It was,
Yeah,
yeah.
I can imagine. I love that. So yeah, so you're living a new lifestyle. Maybe you'll run for county commissioner or something. I mean, that would be cool.
Who knows?
Let's make it up for Sarah,
Yeah, really.
I love that. Well, part of what I have done and focused on in the last 7 years or so is philanthrodating. So what I always ask some of my my podcast guests is, do they have a favorite charity? And if so, we can put it in the show notes and kind of why do you connect with that charity?
Yeah, no, I love that question. I think that Charlotte has several that great organizations that work with immigrants and refugees. And the one that's really close to my heart is Refugee Support Services, which is an organization that basically helps refugees once they are in the United States, and it kind of helps more with, it's not necessarily, providing them financial support, but it's more just providing them guidance in a brand new country and providing them people that they can go to and a place for community and that kind of thing. And I just think they do an amazing job. I love Refugee Support Services. And then another organization that I have been working with a lot recently is called Bethany. And Bethany does mostly like foster and adoptive care and that kind of thing. But right now they have a program where they are creating foster families for unaccompanied minors coming across our southern border, and giving them a temporary home in the United States so that they're not in a detention center. And so they are in a home with a family before they are reunited with their family or guardian here in the United States. And I just think it's a really cool and different thing that they're doing. And it's a little bit under the radar. And so those two are my favorites right now.
I love that. What got you interested in that field, immigration and fostering?
I mean, it's funny. I feel like the immigration and the refugee side, I really was interested in long before it became anything remotely controversial. Like, it's kind of crazy to me that is a controversial thing at this point. But
great.
I guess in like 2008, maybe, I had been traveling a lot internationally and was traveling in places where then a lot of time, like places like Vietnam, for instance, that then we have quite a few Vietnamese refugees here in Charlotte. We have actually, North Carolina has like the largest population of Montagnard people, which is a refugee group from Vietnam, from the highlands of Vietnam, of anywhere else in the world other than Vietnam. And so it was more being interested in that international community. And then I reached out to the executive director at the time of Refugee Support Services, and she's just this amazing woman. And so she got me connected sort of with that community, and it kind of has gone from there.
I love that. Lovely. Would you ever consider fostering?
I would actually. I got my license as a foster parent this year, and so I've done so far just some respite care, which is basically being able to take care of children when their foster family needs to leave town or something like that and isn't able to take them. And so, but I've been doing that specifically with the program that is for the unaccompanied minors from the border.
Oh my gosh, my heart is feeling so good right now. You're such a wonderful person. I'm so glad you're in my orbit. It's just really lovely. Good. Well, Sarah, it's been so good to have you on this podcast, and I just wish you all the best. I want to do like a part 2, and you can tell me, what's happened, the relationship and everything else.
Right.
That on the down low for now.
Yeah.
But and I want to hear more about your work as a fostering and foster parenting and whatnot. So, but anyway, I look forward to hearing updates, and we will go from there. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. This was great. It was so great to catch up with you, and I'm flattered that you had me on.
Thanks for listening to Love on the Go. I hope you join us on our next episode. You can make sure to know when it is by following us wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed it, it'd be great if you left us a review. I'd appreciate it. In the meantime, to learn more about me and how my team can help you, visit carolinasmatchmaker.com. Until next time.